Out front now, former Republican Congressman Jack Kingston. He was also a senior advisor to the Trump campaign and former national press secretary for Bernie Sanders' campaign. Symone Sanders, also a communications consultant for Priorities USA Action. Congressman Kingston, Sarah Sanders says those comments weren't about President Trump with a straight face. Do you agree?
Well, I somewhat agree, but I would say that President Bush had his brother defeated by Donald Trump. He's a good family member, and, you know, he has the right to say some things, and certainly President Obama does, as President Trump is dismantling all of Obama's policies, which I think is a good thing, and many Americans do as well. But I think they have the right to get up there and say things. But for either one of them to pretend like there was peace and harmony in the land when they were president is ridiculous. President Bush, all those Bush lied signs that were out there for years, the pink ladies who roamed the halls of Congress demanding us get out of Iraq, and then the Tea Party all over the mall in Washington, D.C., and again in the halls of Congress when President Obama was president. There was not peace and love and harmony. We're a very tough nation. We demand a lot of our leaders, and leaders can polarize us, or we can be polarized by ourselves and blame it on the leaders. But for them to look back with these rose-colored glasses saying, oh, it was love throughout the fruited plain when I was president, I think that's a little far-fetched.
I don't think I don't think anyone was looking back with rose-colored glasses, if you will, Aaron. I think the future of the republic is currently being threatened by the presidency and the administration of Donald Trump. I'm no fan of George W. Bush, and definitely thought his handling of Katrina was poor. We could talk about the war. We could talk about all these different things, but I never thought the republic was being threatened by him being in the White House. I wasn't concerned about him having the nuclear codes. Bigotry and racism was not brought from the fringes into the mainstream with his presidency. So that is the difference here in what the former presidents were talking about.
So, Congressman Kingston, there was a little bit more of what obviously both of them said, a lot more. But here's another thing that President Bush said yesterday that has been interpreted as a criticism of President Trump. Here's President Bush.
We've seen our discourse degraded by casual cruelty. Bullying and prejudice in our public life sets a national tone, provides permission for cruelty and bigotry, and compromises the moral education of children.
He talked about casual cruelty and, you know, what that means in terms of educating our children. Of course, we all remember this moment when Trump mocked a disabled reporter during the campaign. Here he is.
Yeah, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember.
Okay, and just another random example, when he attacked the morning television host Mika Brzezinski in a series of tweets where he claimed she was bleeding badly from a facelift. We can see that here. She was bleeding badly from a facelift. That is casual cruelty. Would you not acknowledge, Congressman?
Well, I think Americans knew Donald Trump, and they knew who they elected, and he's a guy from the streets of Queens, if you will. My dad's
Oh, my God.
from
Don't
Brooklyn.
put this on Queens. Congressman Kingston, do not put that on Queens.
I'm going to say it's
Don't blame
a product
Queens.
of, well, you know what? My dad was from Brooklyn, and he was a tough guy.
So you're saying, Congressman, are you saying, yes, he's
insulted,
casually cruel, but we knew what we were getting? Is that your argument?
What I am saying is he's a tough guy, and if you insult him or if you push him, he's going to push back. And I think that the American people knew that, but I think they also wanted him to push back on Washington, D.C. and
Okay,
the
but before you try
quo.
to pivot here, I know what you're trying to do. I respect it. But let me just say, do you really think it's okay to push back by making fun of someone being confined to a wheelchair?
Absolutely not. But for Bush to suddenly forget all the vicious claims against him, Bush lied, Bush lied, Bush lied, on the floor of the House, on the streets of Washington, D.C., in the streets of New York City, and yes, Queens, people always were saying Bush lied. And for him to think that there was peace and harmony back then was ridiculous.
I think President Bush readily remembers folks calling him a liar. I think he remembers Kanye West saying he didn't care about black people and his handling of Katrina. I don't think George Bush has forgot about any of this. What the difference here is that Donald Trump has not exhibited the decorum that is worthy of the office of president. I think that's what the former president was getting at. And just because this is who he is does not make it okay. I have said from the beginning it's not okay. That doesn't make it okay. He needs to rise to the level of the occasion.
But let me say this. As much as I respect your views, and you're right to have that view about President Trump, I can say this. On the conservative side, many people thought the same thing about Barack Obama, that he was indeed endangering the republic because of his big social spending and his
a Gold Star family. Did Barack Obama
his
did Barack Obama personally attack people via his Twitter page?
Did
Barack Obama please? Barack Obama is leaps and bounds smarter and more just better just better than Donald Trump. And to compare him and Donald Trump's conduct to President Obama's is just disappointing.
All right, I will hit pause there. Thank you both.
Thanks a lot.
The Trump White House. But how would Americans grade the president on everything that happened? Here to discuss two men who have the ear of America, Joe Madison, a host on Sirius XM, the host on Sirius XM.
Oh, well, there's more than one, but thank you.
And John Fredericks, syndicated talk radio host, who is the former co-chair of the Trump campaign in Virginia. Good evening, gents. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, John.
Let's see. Joe, you're up first. A busy week. The president flip-flopped back and forth on health care, accused former presidents of not calling fallen soldiers' families, then blamed everyone else for making it political. He got into a fight with a congresswoman over one of those calls. He gave himself a 10 out of 10 on his handling of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, even though after it hit some to 80% of the islands is still without power. And that's not everything. So since the president likes, taking grades, talking about grades, what grade would you give him this week?
I would give him, and listen to me very carefully, I would give all of us, America, an F. We let this family down. We should not be arguing who said what, how it was said, why it was said. America this week lost its soul. When we saw that mother, Widow Johnson, over that flag-draped coffin, we should have put all our differences aside and thought about all four of those men who gave their lives. I have an F. And I think what two former presidents did was that they reminded us in their own individual way that America better get its act together and we better reclaim our soul, because nothing should have moved us more than that mother with those children and that unborn baby. And so, quite candidly, with that long list of things you delineated, I would say all of us deserve an F. And I'll close by saying this, that I think this Sunday, at every NFL game, every NFL player ought to take a knee in honor of LaDavid Johnson and those other three men who gave their lives so that we could enjoy something like an NFL game. So I give the president an F. I give the chief of staff an F. I give broadcasters an F. I give all of us an F who jumped in our corners and quite honestly just should have focused on those soldiers.
So John, how would you grade the president? What do you think he deserves for the week?
Well, he gets an A on substance, because the only substantive thing that matters to Americans at the end of the day is the fact that in the Senate, they passed something, which is a budget resolution, which has the potential to lead to the biggest tax cut and tax reform in the history of the Republic, bigger than Jack Kennedy's in '61, bigger than Reagan's in '86, bringing down middle-class taxes, getting jobs back, getting wages up, growing the economy, getting people back to work, protecting families so they can earn more money. So on substance, he gets an A. As far as the the just terrible week played out with this with these 4 servicemen who died, and the Congresswoman Frederica Wilson politicizing a conversation the president had with this grieving widow immediately after she knocked people over to get the CNN and other cameras in order to politicize this, in order to get her moment in the sun and blast Trump, taking things out of context. And this entire thing has gone on for a week. I mean, this is sick. This is a sick society when we allow the politicization of something as dreadful as you losing a son or a husband or a loved one in battle overseas, and now it becomes a political football.
Are you
in
calling
order
the
to blast
president of
Trump.
the United States sick as well?
No,
he sets
I'm
the
calling
tone.
Frederica Wilson sick for going on TV and politicizing this. Look, if there was a misunderstanding or if,
damn it,
if the
John, you
grieving
just
widow,
proved my point.
you know
what? I could walk off this set right now. You just
go ahead.
proved.
Nobody stopped you. There's no
you
ball
just
and
proved
chain there, Joe.
You just
you don't have
proved
a
my
ball and
point.
chain, Joe.
You
just
proved my point. First of all, she didn't run First of all, she didn't run, and secondly, quit this foolishness. And that's what I'm trying to say to you. She didn't run to a camera. Quit characterizing that.
She did. She was on a camera, Joe, within hours of that.
She did not run to the camera.
For political gain.
Oh, God. You know what?
But the camera just found her, Joe?
You
just
proved
dropped
my
from
point.
The sky? It dropped from the pigeons?
You proved my point. You proved my
Joe,
point. All of this about, wait a minute, excuse me, what about that family? What about those children? What about that woman over that coffin? You just proved my point, John. Let's put these differences aside. What you just said was freaking petty, and freaking wasn't the word I was thinking of.
No, Joe, what I said is the truth. Frederica Wilson took this to the politicization level in order to blast Trump. I mean, the thing is sickening. Instead of simply, look, if there was a misunderstanding in this conversation, if there was a misunderstanding, that should have been
let me ask you something.
Worked out privately. She took it to the cameras.
John, I think that's exactly what Joe is saying.
And now you're outraged. And
John,
now you're outraged over
John, let me in here, okay? That's exactly what Joe is saying. This could have been ended if the President of the United States had said, if something I said was mischaracterized or whatever, I am deeply sorry, this would have been over. So you're putting all the blame on Frederica Wilson. Does the President of the United States, who sets the tone, discourse in this country, does he not deserve any blame? Is he not at fault here at all? Even today, even yesterday, John Kelly mischaracterizing what she said. Is there no blame to be put at the White House?
General Kelly lost a son. He came to the press conference.
I didn't ask you that.
Thursday,
that's not the point. That's not my point. Is there no blame? Please answer my question directly. Is there no blame to be put on the president and the White House? We understand he lost a son. He told us about that.
There is no blame. The blame goes squarely on the shoulders of Congresswoman Frederica Wilson.